Nesta, and today my presentation will be on school choice. School choice allows public education funds to follow students to the schools that best fit their needs, whether that's a public school, private school, charter school, homeschool, or any other learning environment parents choose for their kids. Looking at the slides, you see that there are 4 main educational services they can choose from. Public education is inclusive schools funded by taxation, admitting everyone based on zip code or district. Private school is an education that's non-governmental and privately funded. Charter education is government funding but operates independently. Homeschooling education means you're signed up at the general education and is learned by a parent or online educator. How does this work? Well, basically everyone in our community is set to pay income tax or sales tax or both. That tax then becomes a revenue for our state. Then our state distributes money to families, and families then have the options to look into what schooling is the best fit for their children. Why is this a trend today? Well, there are many concerns that arise with school choice because some people believe that to improve our education system, we need to stop spending our tax dollars on public schools. Instead, we should be investing in charter schools or private schools because it is believed that the best learning experience can come from private institutions, as our president currently believes. However, is this actually fair? Well, school choice isn't available to all families or in all states. In fact, it only seems to be available to those above low-income families, who in my opinion don't need vouchers as much as low-income families do. Private schools also don't have to accept everyone, regardless if they have a school voucher or other assistance program helping them. This actually places a limit on the child and contradicts with what school choice actually is. So not everybody has a choice. Unfortunately, this does increase segregation. Today, most families that receive any school vouchers come from middle or high-class families, most of whom are white, are able to attend these private schools or charter schools. There have been countless of efforts to integrate schools that provide an excellent and equal education for everyone. But it turns out that our schools are showing segregation again, which means school choice is actually only favoring the middle and high class. Our president is currently investing in over $20 million to push for an expansion of private and charter schools. He's calling this the civil rights issue of our time. But in fact, out of the 74 million kids enrolled in school in the United States, only 4 million are using school choice programs, and another 5 million are attending private schools. On top of private funding, the $20 billion adds fundings from private school and takes away from public school funding, leaving the rest of the 65 million kids with less resources or after-school extracurricular activities, just because they're attending public schools. If you think, how many public schools have sporting teams compared to private schools? How many additional clubs have you seen in private schools compared to public school? Benefits of privatization outweigh the cost. Some may argue yes, and some may argue no. Voucher programs almost never cover full tuition. Think of your FAFSA experience. Have you ever been covered a full tuition? The more we privatize schools, we take away funding from public schools. This may not sound as a big deal, but it is. Due to school choice not being fair, we're actually scamming lower income students out of an education. We're focusing on improving schools by making them cost money. Instead of providing additional resources to help poor kids, As mentioned before, schools will be less diverse, causing a division between privileged and unprivileged students. Diversity is important to us because it teaches us equality. Students learn from a young age to treat everyone the way they want to be treated. Diversity opens the doors to other ideas and experiences as well. Privatization stops this. Now, as much as it takes away, some privatization can be being in a religious school. Some parents prefer their child to learn about religion because of the fact they are religious. Private schools can also offer a more challenging curriculum. For instance, New York State's passing rate is a 65 average, where private schools in New York State are about 70 and above. These students are also able to be taught in smaller classes, which means it is less crowded, which also leads parents to assume that a teacher How can we find better solutions? We can start off with no funding towards private schools. Then we can provide accurate vouchers for low-income families that don't only help out middle and high-class families. However, if we can't get rid of vouchers, make school choice available to everyone. Lastly, let's not take away funding from public schools. This will reduce resources for students enrolled, which may leave them behind in learning. The problem is that private schools receive tax dollars that can account for a quality education to young people, but it takes away public school funding, which leaves public school at a risk of falling behind. In order for students to succeed and go to the next grade level, they must be able to pass a few state standardized tests. Right now, it is shown to be the most effective method we have to identify which students need extra help or are able to advance. There are civil rights groups like the American Civil Liberties Union and the United Negro College Fund that have proven it is the kids that are poor or considered a minority that need help the most. However, they often don't receive the education they need because they don't measure up to the state standards. These students are easily forgotten of by us. By taking away fundings from public schools, we're hurting these children even more. We're focusing on bettering the good schools instead of the poor schools. Private schools receive funding from families, alumni, sponsors, and other donors. They mostly have enough money to support their students, teachers, and school. They are not the ones in need of fundings. How can we find better